bist Weltmeister!
Red Bull announced that they will continue their working partnership with Sergio Perez for 2 more years, for 2025 and 2026. I say this because during the Canadian Grand Prix, when Christian Horner was asked about the extension, he said that the contract was a 1+1 option, which means that Checo will stay with Red Bull for 2025, but 2026 is an option from both the parties to decide whether to continue the partnership or call it quits. Honestly, the announcement couldn't have come at any worse time than it did, because Montreal being a track in which that he has always suffered, I knew that Checo was going to struggle this weekend. But his performance at the Canadian Grand Prix left me speechless for all the wrong reasons. He was nowhere in the qualifying, and even in the race he was not able to make any inroads towards the top 10 in a car that was fighting for both pole and the race win at the other side of the garage, ultimately winning the Grand Prix. But Checo spun out on his own, broke the rear wing, retiring from the race, with the team instructing him to limp the car back to the pits with a broken wing to avoid a safety car. The stewards have now given Checo a grid penalty for the Spanish Grand Prix for driving a broken car on the track. His performance at the Canadian Grand Prix couldn't have gone any worse. The fact that it was followed up by both Monaco and Imola is an alarming sign for Checo. Checo has not made it into Q3 now 3 races in succession with a car that has the pace to fight for at least podiums. Slowly, it looks like Checo is falling back into the downward spiral of last year, where his qualifying performance was affecting both his race results and his race pace. Yes, the Monaco Grand Prix crash was more out of his control and Magnussen has more to blame for that incident. Still, Perez's poor qualifying put him in that awkward position to fight a Haas, but the crash in Canada was solely his fault. From the front wing damage at the start of the race to the rear wing damage, he is not only affecting the team's overall result, but also putting a strain on the budget of the RB20's development. In an era of budget cap where teams are already restricted with expenses, they have to be wise in how they develop the car. A misstep in upgrades can now have a much larger impact on their expenses. Teams now can't afford hefty repair bills anymore, as it reduces the funds available for the development. Helmut Marko warned about the same after the Monaco Grand Prix, and I've uploaded a separate video talking about this, and if you haven't watched that video yet, I'll make sure to put up an iCard up there, so click on it so you can check out that video. But yeah, coming back to the topic, Checo can't afford to have such lackluster performances that also adds repair bill on top of it. Checo's performance is showing the same patterns as last year, with his pace dropping race after race after having a sublime start to the season. His qualifying gap to Verstappen in the last 4 races has been very inconsistent, and his points contribution to Red Bull in the last 4 races has been laughable. With Ferrari and McLaren having a very consistent performance so far and with a very strong driver lineup, if Checo continues to perform the way he is, then he will put Red Bull's Constructors' Championship at risk. It's a blessing that in Canada, it was not just him who had an absolute stinker of a race, but also Ferrari, who had a double DNF, which has given both Checo and Red Bull a bit of a breather, but Checo has to step up with his performance and deliver a solid weekend from Spain onwards. Still, with Ferrari having a double DNF at Canada, Ferrari almost scored the same amount of points as Red Bull in the last 4 races, even with Max winning 2 of the last 4 races. And McLaren has comfortably outscored both Red Bull and Ferrari in the last 4 races, despite having the same amount of wins as Ferrari. This is a worrying side for Red Bull, as this shows that the competition now, with a car that can fight for wins and podiums on a more regular occasion than before, and with a strong driver lineup, Red Bull needs to score healthy points from both ends of the garage to have better chance at defending the Constructors' title. Though Drivers' Championship is the most prestigious one of the two, Constructors' title is what matters the most for the team, as it gives the team the recognition of building a successful car and for performing at a high level across the season. I hope that Canada was a harsh wake-up call for Checo, and he seems determined to bounce back at Spain, and that he should. He needs to be up there with Max both in qualifying and in the race, like how he was at the start of the season, and bring the car home with a clean nose. With both Ferrari and McLaren now being keen on aggressively developing their car for 2024, and Mercedes also joining the party, Checo needs to step up, as his performance now will be scrutinized much harder than what it was back in 2023. And he has to deliver, because it's obvious that Red Bull will no longer be racing at the class of their own like how it was in 2023. Ferrari and McLaren will be right there to contest for poles and race wins for the rest of the season, so Checo's contribution to the team is now needed more than ever. Checo is a driver who has proven his worth that he can be fast, but that raw speed and pace is not as consistent and is not as frequent as it was before. That's what he needs to work upon, and I hope he does a much better job in 2024 than he did in 2023. So yes guys, these are my thoughts and opinion, and I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and let me know down in the comments on what are your thoughts on Checo's performance and how do you think he'll perform in Spain. Do you think what happened with him in the last 4 races was just a blip, or do you think he's just falling back into the pattern of his performance from 2023? Leave it down in the comments. I'm curious to know what is your take on it. With that being said, subscribe to the Renmaster channel if you haven't already, and also hit that bell icon while you're at it so you get notified whenever I upload a brand new video. And until next time, it's me Vinesh from Renmeister, and I'm out. Love you guys, stay safe, peace.